Okay, the meeting is now live.
Okay, great. Welcome to the ITGS committee. Today is Wednesday, May 4th, 2022. Today I'm joined by my colleague, Councilmember Blumenfield. Hello. Mr. Espinoza, do you want to call the roll, please?
Yes, Councilmember Rahman,
Here.
Councilmember Blumenfield,
Blumenfield present.
and Councilmember Price. Councilmember Price is absent. That's two members and a quorum.
Great. Well, today we have a big agenda. We have 10 items on this agenda. Item 1, I just want to go through the items quickly before we decide or before we discuss what we can focus on today. Item 1 is the ITA report about digital modernization and improving the city's online presence. Item 2 is a joint report from the Civil and Human Rights and Equity Department, ITA, and LAPD on improving access for hate crime reporting through technological solutions and about streamlining that data when it does come into the city. Item 3 is a motion about the participation of small, local, minority, and women-owned businesses in city contracting. Item 4 is a motion about the feasibility of creating a community reporting system for idling commercial vehicles that can be integrated into 311 or some other kind of online tool. Item 5 is a Board of Rec and Park Commissioners report about a rental agreement with the State of California's Department of Transportation about leasing property for the El Sereno Arroyo Playground. Item 6 is a city attorney report and an ordinance that amends the administrative code to require the implementation of the Own a Piece of Los Angeles program. And it's about basically sale of city-owned surplus property. Item 7 is a Municipal Facilities Committee report about a new lease agreement for the Channel 35 studio. Item 8 is a Municipal Facilities Committee report relative to the First Amendment to the memorandum MOU with the county for the West Los Angeles Civic Center redevelopment project, which is a really big project. Item 9 is also a Municipal Facilities Committee report, and it's about a license agreement with Community Build, Inc. For using office space on Crenshaw Boulevard. And finally, item 10 is also a Municipal Facilities report and an ordinance relative to the sale of city-owned surplus property, and it's located at 4366 South Main Street, and selling it to the California Conservation Corps. So that's all of those items, so a ton of stuff. And so now I want to open it up for public comment on all of these items, and people can have 1 minute if they're speaking on one item and 2 minutes if they're speaking on multiple items, and they can have a minute for general public comment if requested. So Mr. Espinoza, if you want to provide instructions for the public to join the meeting, if they'd like at this time.
Thank you. Members of the public who would like to offer public comment on the items listed on the agenda should call 1-669-254-5252 and use meeting ID number 161-892-0108 and then press pound. Press pound again when prompted for a participant ID. Once admitted into the meeting, press *9 to request to speak.
Callers, please select *9 if you wish to speak. I don't believe they want to speak. They didn't pop up, so there are no callers in the queue, Councilwoman.
And Councilmember, I do think that we're actually having problems with the feed going out at the moment. I'm not sure if the feed and the audio is available at the moment.
Okay, so what do you suggest that we do? Should we pause?
Maybe we could recess just for a moment to see if they could fix what's going on, because I don't think that the audio is going out to the public at the moment.
Okay.
Oh, that's too bad. I just went through all these items for no reason.
And it was beautiful, by the way.
Thanks. We put a lot of effort into those summaries. Okay, yeah, so why don't we recess for a moment until we can fix the IT problem? So will you be able to do that for us, Mr. Espinoza?
Yes, yes, we will go on recess, and as soon as I hear anything, and then or get some updates from our IT folks, I'll let us know what's going on.
Okay.
Okay, this is a test to see if it's working. There are people monitoring right now just to make sure, so we were just seeing if the audio is now working. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3.
Hello, do you hear me? Hello.
Hello. We are just testing the audio to make sure that it's working at the moment.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing. Still testing. Can you hear me now? I'm still testing the audio. Testing, 1, 2, 3. And right now our systems people are monitoring it, so as soon as they hear me and are able to hear this, we should be able to start again. Testing. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing. Yeah, we're still not getting audio. Testing. Still just testing to make sure we have audio going out. Testing, testing.
Mr. Espinoza, our staff would confirm that council phone is up and is available, just so you know, as an option while they're resolving the other item.
Thank you. And also I've heard that the squawk boxes work as well. It's basically just the link from the calendar and the one on the agendas that is not working for the people that are clicking on it through either a computer or their smartphones. Testing. Testing, testing. Testing, testing. Still testing the feed. 1, 2, 3. Testing. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. 1, 2, 3. And for the people in the meeting, we do have a lot of people working on it right now to seeing, we have council audio, we have our systems people. We have a lot of people working on this right now.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience.
No worries.
Michael, is the problem that the Google phone number doesn't work versus the Google Meets?
The problem is the Zoom link that we put on the council agendas as well as like on the calendar. It's that main one that people use to click on in order to either listen to it on their cell phones or on the computer. The squawk boxes and the council phone works right now.
Because the Google, I've been having this issue for about 2 weeks now on all my Google meetings that are Google Meet. The phone number doesn't work, and the only way to get in is to click on the Google link. So if it's related to that, it's bigger than our meeting.
That's what they're looking into at the moment. And just to let you know, we are actually still live to the squawk boxes and the council phones right now in order to get this going. So this meeting still can be live, just to let everybody know.
Yeah, council member, a good number of staff are looking at it, but it looks like it may be that audio isn't making its way to the Prime Gov encoder. So it's getting out through a number of different areas, and so we're not sure if it's hardware or a software issue. But IT is working very closely with the city clerk staff in regards to the Prime Gov system.
My worry is that people may not know about public comment. So if we're not able to provide an opportunity for public comment, then it just feels problematic. Although this committee doesn't get much public comment. I find it scintillating, but apparently.
And I will keep talking so that way they understand that there's this feed still going on. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing.
You're practicing for like your own filibuster. Keep talking, keep talking.
Yeah, maybe I should bring out War and Peace or something. It's more interesting than just saying testing.
You sing?
That would clear the room very quickly. Right now, we are also checking with the city attorney for guidance as to what they would like to do and how they would like to proceed.
Hi, Michael. I'm sorry, did you send me an email? No.
I know that Streffen, I let Streffen and my boss Erica know right now that that you are the city attorney, and so I know that they're probably going to get in touch with you quickly.
Just for curiosity's sake, how many, can we tell if it looks like we do have a public commenter. Can we tell how many people are in the queue?
At the moment, I believe we do have one attendee, but the problem is I'm not sure when we say, you could speak now if they're able to hear. And I mean, they might be able to because they were able to call in. So we do have one person on the queue.
Okay. I will, I'm going to turn my camera off. And if you think Streffen's going to try and get a hold of me, I'm just going to give him a buzz here on the phone. I'll be right back.
Thank you so much.
Michael and Councilmember, I was just told that the person that's calling in is actually with ITA, so they're not calling in to speak in public comment. They're just,
That might be me, Donna
oh,
Archia.
okay, just,
I'm dialing in and
oh, I see, I
so,
see.
yes.
Okay, thank you, Donna. Never mind. Yeah, there is still one person in the queue.
Well, to confirm, Donna Archie is with ITA.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. So basically, that you're saying that there is no
So
public.
I'm the one dialing in.
commenters.
No, sorry. I was told that the person that was on the queue as an attendee was from ITA, but it's actually not.
No, she is. It's Donna from ITA.
No, sorry. There's two different. There's a caller, but that as a
Got it.
panelist.
Got it.
Who's on first?
Oh my God. Ironic that this is happening in the IT committee.
So Michael, just to confirm what I heard, we don't have any public callers in the queue.
Yes, as far as I know, we do not have any callers.
Okay, Steffen's recommendation is to go ahead and open public comment and then close it,
Okay.
and then proceed with the meeting.
Just a heads up, the YouTube broadcast is not working either, and there's
Oh.
people watching it. So I don't know if that impacts this or not.
This is Ted Ross with IT. I was messaging with staff. So the phone number that's provided in the agenda does work in the sense of council audio. My understanding is there are the abilities for people to try to get into the Zoom. So certainly some facets are working and some facets are not. So Kim, to your point, if you'd like, we can go ahead and proceed with opening a public comment. But the city has redundant types of ways of broadcasting this. And in a situation like this, we've got at least one that's working.
Okay, great. Yeah, and so given that, and that we have no one in the queue, and the meeting has been going now for 27 minutes, they've had, ample opportunity to try. So we'll follow Steffen's recommendation, and if the council president, or if the committee president wants to open public comment and then close it, we can proceed with the meeting.
Sorry, could you say that one more time?
Yes, since we have no public commenters in the queue, Steffen's advice is to just go ahead and open public comment and then close it, and then proceed with the meeting.
But if the YouTube link is also not working?
So Mr. Ross had indicated that there are other ways, and he believes that the Zoom link is working. Did I understand you correctly, Ted?
Correct. I'm asking Miriam to clarify, but yes, Zoom link is working. The council phone is working.
Yes, Mariam Abbasi. So the phone number listed on the agenda is a Zoom phone number, the same way Donna got in from a phone. A public comment speaker should be able to get in. So it looks like we didn't have public comment at all, meaning nobody wanted to dial in. And by the fact that city phone is working, this meeting is being available as audio for people who can dial into the audio from the phone. So the fact that it is not on the calendar, so the link on the calendar is not working, that brings us to think that it is the possibility that either the connection to PrimeGov, which is a different system by itself for that streaming, is not working, or the PrimeGov system is not having issue, but that has not yet been confirmed.
But that should only be one means of broadcast. So it's not a means for people to provide public comment. It's simply a means to broadcast what's happening.
And additionally, the audio is being recorded in our office, so if needed, we can also upload it in the future as well. So we will be able to work with the city clerk's office to upload it for the PrimeGov as well.
So your recommendation is to open public comment and proceed, well, even though the link on the PrimeGov is not working?
That's correct.
But the link on the Zoom is working, and that's how we receive public comments, which is the phone number that is published. So the phone line is working. However, the streaming on the calendar link is not working, which is for people to listen in, not to provide comments.
Okay, that's fine. So just Councilmember Blumenfield, are you here? Nope, you're on mute.
I am here.
Okay, great. So should we get back to it?
Yes, if you would like, we could start from the very beginning and I could call roll as if we were starting right now. Would that be okay?
So I have to go through that whole thing again.
Um,
So people weren't able to hear before. Is that what was happening?
well, there's no new listeners at this point. So if the people who were able to hear you previously are still able to hear you.
So it would be my recommendation, since we just recessed, we can just reopen the session.
Okay,
And
so we'll reopen the session and then we can reopen public comment and then we can close public comment and then move on to the next step in the agenda.
That's what I would recommend.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's get back.
And the meeting is now reopened from recess.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Espinoza. And now that we're back, let's go back to public comment. If we could reopen, Mr. Espinoza, if you want to just provide the instructions again, we can then wait for a moment to see whether people call in.
Thank you. Members of the public who would like to offer public comment on the items listed on the agenda should call 1-669-254-5252 and use meeting ID number 161-892-0108 and then press pound. Press pound again when prompted for a participant ID. Once admitted into the meeting, press *9 to request to speak.
Do we have any commenters at this time?
Yes, give me a sec. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on. Caller ending in 4929, please state your name and the items you wish to speak on. Okay, thank you. There are no more callers in the queue, Councilwoman.
Okay, well, at this time, I'm going to recommend that we take items 3 through 10 on consent unless there are any objections from you, Councilmember Blumenfield.
That works for me.
Great. Mr. Espinoza, can you please call the roll on these items?
Thank you. Councilmember Rahman,
Yes.
Councilmember Blumenfield,
Blumenfield, aye.
and Councilmember Price is absent, so these items are approved on consent.
Okay, so let's start with item 1. Mr. Espinoza, if you could read the item into the record, please.
Thank you. Item number 1 is a report from the Information Technology Agency relative to digital modernization and improving the city's online presence.
Great. So I'm really excited to hear this report today because this is came out of a motion that my office and my staff worked on very closely with Councilmember Buscaino's staff and with ITA staff. And I know that both of us are really looking forward to seeing this move forward. And we have with us here Amy Gebert from Councilmember Buscaino's staff. Amy, are you here?
I'm here.
Oh, great. Amy, I want to welcome you to the committee and invite you to share a few words on behalf of Councilmember Buscaino.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Amy Hebert, Planning Deputy for Councilmember Joe Buscaino. In March 2020, the City of Los Angeles had to make one of the largest technological transitions in a matter of days for thousands of employees across departments. The pandemic propelled city systems, which often required in-person transactions, to go digital, and I want to take a moment to recognize ITA for helping departments make such huge advances in a matter of weeks. It is imperative that the city continue this work to increase online access to city services for our constituents. And it is critical that all new and existing mobile applications and department websites are easy to use for a diverse range of users and provide translation, consistent City of LA branding and domains, mobile responsiveness, online payment options, and fillable online forms. Systems that are easier to understand and navigate benefit everyone. Far too often, the city has placed an undue burden on its users to navigate city systems. By failing to approach systems development from a user's perspective, we can create additional barriers to accessing city services. For example, a print-only form requires someone to have a printer to pay for postage, make a trip to mail it, or deliver it in person. And while it's important to maintain those options for those who need it, in LA County, there are 10.4 million smartphones for 10 million residents, which is more than one per person. The city must continue to adapt to our increasingly digital world and should strive to create systems that any user can navigate with ease. And in order to do so, users must be at the center of the design process. This should apply to every touch point at which the city is electronically involved, from a constituent remodeling their home, to a person experiencing homelessness attempting to access services, to a small business owner keeping track of their ghost receipts tax. Council District 15 is proud to co-author this motion that will advance a number of these initiatives to benefit both constituents and city staff by making city services more accessible and easier to use digitally. It has been a pleasure to work with Council District 4's legislative team and ITA on this endeavor that we undertook in May of last year, and Council District 15 urges an aye vote on this item. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and it was great to partner with you as well. And thank you for taking the time to speak on this. We appreciate your time today. Today we have Ted Ross from ITA and his team to help to make a presentation on this report, and then we can have a little bit of discussion afterwards. Thank you, Ted.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and share screen. Madam Chair, can you see the presentation?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
And for those who are monitoring, the presentation simply it takes summarized information out of the report itself. So all the content is in the report. So a little bit of a background. As Council District 15 very well described, the COVID pandemic necessitates a modern, effective city online presence. The council motion has 23 different topics across 4 categories. Section 1, for example, describes improving LA City websites and the online presence. Section 2 describes securing a new .gov web address. Section 3 is about digitizing and consolidating services with MyLA 311. And Section 4 has recommendations to ensure department coordination. For the sake of time, I'm simply going to drill in on a few of these items, and then I'm going to summarize some of the recommendations and be open for questions. But all the items are comprehensively covered in the report back. So the first topic is around improving LA City websites. And so one of the items was specifically around how do we ensure that department contact is navigable from lacity.org. We live in a world right now, there's over 120 official city websites across 43 plus departments, and it's got tens of thousands of pages. And yet the average Angelino simply needs to get to information that's important to them in a way that it's easy to understand in a language that they can comprehend. So to improve this situation and to ensure that all this department content is easily accessible, ITA is creating a new LA City website. But how do Angelinos want to navigate to it? I think for each one of us, if we were to check and compare notes, we would know that when we go on the internet, we all have different preferences. Some of us like to go to a menu and click through. Some of us like to do a Google search. There's a lot of different ways that people get to it. So by using web analytics, focus groups, surveys, and best practices, the IT is using 3 different ways for people to be able to access department content through the LA City website. First of all is navigation by topic. So you can see here a little bit of a early example of what the banner looks like for the new lacity.gov. And so if your resident, business, or visitor, it gives you a quick way to be able to drill in and start to navigate to the topics that you find beneficial. The second way is getting through it through search. For many people, when they land on the homepage, they don't even want to bother with the menu. They'll simply type in something like pothole into the search bar, hit the search, and they'll go ahead and grab it based on that navigation method. Another way, though, is by demographic group, and this is something brand new for the new lacity.gov. So we offer different options that say, are you LA youth, senior, renter? So we identify different key demographic groups and then curate the information based on them. And using the screenshot here, this is just one of many screenshots that says, hey, if you're one of LA's youth, here's some recreational programs and how to quickly navigate to them. So that's the topic in regards to how you navigate all this different content and get to it in a simplified, easy to use way through lacity.org. The second one, though, has to do with eliminating independent city department domains. It's a difficult situation we're in which various departments have various domains or URLs which don't exactly know whether it's a part of the city of Los Angeles or not. So the council motion requires a standardization of city website address for easy access by residents, but also for authenticity. We live in an era full of cybercrime, and it's extremely important. Anyone can download a city seal and try to create a city website. So it's very important that the website has all the right pieces, both in look and feel, both in the domain name, as well as in things like secure, SSL and HTTPS, to ensure that a website looks official so that residents can trust a website and know that it's a part of the city of Los Angeles or not. So ITA will be working with city departments to establish a naming convention. For example, the current LACitySan.org would likely become something like sanitation.lacity.gov. With consensus, departments will then move to advertise and start updating the materials. We know that websites pop up in a lot of places. So it's really important that a move like this be done. This is a very measure twice, cut once kind of situation to ensure that we're providing the information people know for when a move like this will happen. A previous website would also allow a redirect. If you were to go to, let's say in this case, an lacitystan.org, it would simply redirect you to sanitation.lac.gov, so you don't get some kind of error message because you're going to a previous website address. ITA recommends also that project websites also start to follow this standard. So we're very familiar with websites run by the Bureau of Engineering or Department of Sanitation or from Building and Safety, but quite often we have websites that are project-based. So for example, Save the Drop, right? A very important water conservation program doesn't really have any connection to the city other than if you go to savethedropla.com, you'll notice that the mayor's office helped initiate that. So we think that project websites should also have the same type of approach. So a savethedropla.com could become savethedrop.mayor.lacity.gov. Once again, allowing things like redirect. So you can create a very snazzy, very catchy title, but we want them to land in a place where they clearly know that it's a part of the LA City brand and it's a trusted LA City website. Another item was around website translation. And once again, there's over 25 of these items, and so I promise I won't go through all of them, but I'm catching some, I think, really important ones that were included in this motion. When we look at US Census, over 175 languages spoken in LA, and certainly government services need to be accessible to all Angelenos. The private sector heavily uses Google Translate. It includes over 108 languages. There's also human translation as an option, and it does provide admittedly better quality translation. But one of the difficulties we run into is in a city with over 120 plus websites, our ability to translate across various languages has both the cost as well as a delay. Every time we want to change a website, we have to go through a cycle of getting retranslation. So while human translation is admittedly better quality, there's a substantial cost and there's substantial delays that likely this could be used maybe for specific languages and specific projects in which you want to utilize it. It could be something targeting, let's say, a Spanish-speaking demographic or a Korean-speaking demographic, and that could be a very targeted way to leverage human translation to get that optimal option. For these reasons, you often see private sector heavily using Google Translate. And so To support this motion and to help improve accessibility across the city of LA, the ITA is developing a new LA web policy and standards. And so this web policy will cover a variety of different topics, including requiring that every city website include multilingual translation, Google Translate at the very least, but at times human translation for all city websites. Of course, for departments to do this, some of them have some of the staffing and some of the resources to make this happen, and others do not. And so what we're going to find is a mixed bag. We're going to find some departments who say, we support and appreciate the importance of multilingual translation, but how do we go ahead and insert the widget and do the required coding to do this? So the departments, to some degree, some more, some less, will need IT assistance. And so in the report recommendations, you'll see requests for resources because ITA is far from staffed to be able to perform this level of service, even though it's extremely important. The second item is around securing a new .gov web address. And I've got great news. I feel like it's the news. I'm teasing you. I've got great news that just came in this morning. So LA was an early adopter of websites. And early on, .org was what was used by government. Since then, .gov became the standard for websites. So when you see lac.org, you might say to yourself, why is that? And the answer is we were too early and too good at it for our own good. And now we're a little late to the game. Until last year, LA actually had few options for an easy-to-use .gov address. So there are standards for .gov. And until last year, we would had to take the Los Angeles-ca.gov website, which does not roll off the tongue and wouldn't have been very easy, I think, for most people to access. Recent changes, though, are now allowing LA to pursue an lacity.gov. So this is actually something just within the last year that allows us to be able to do it. So working with the federal government, we have secured this new domain. We're going to come up with a transition period. Once again, we'll have both .org and .gov operating at the same time to allow a good transition and a smooth crossover. But I'm very proud to say ITA now has the lac.gov domain as of this morning. So we're fully confirmed through the federal government that lac.gov is ready to go. And so we're working to take a brand new lac.gov website, come up with a rollout strategy, and make this happen. Of course, as we mentioned before, a shift from lac.org to lac.gov is going to impact materials, web content, hard links in people's websites, business cards, you name the topic. So there's a lot that goes behind this, but we know that early and frequent communication with our department partners and a good transition strategy will get us to where we need to go. The third item is around consolidating access to services online in 311. So ensuring that MyLA 311 has more city services, has service level expectations that when submits something on the app, they have a reasonable expectation of when it'll be resolved and a communication that it was resolved. And ensuring that it's user friendly is near and dear to our heart. I'm a MyLA 311 app user. ITA is full of MyLA 311 app users, and we both hear clearly what the constituents have to say to make it better, and we see it ourselves. So we are passionate about providing the best possible solution. And I must say, just to the credit, if I could, for the whole 311 service, originally it was intended for the 311 system to handle up to 1 million requests a year. We are over 2.2 million a year already. So just giving a little insight, 311 is a popular service, whether it's call center app or website. In 2020, through the Mayor's Executive Directive number 29, which is contactless government, the ITA worked with a variety of city departments to digitize 74 department services for the public. Now ITA is shifting gears. We're working with the Controller's Office and City Council offices to deliver a citywide 311 customer strategy with the assistance of the consultants in Grant Thornton. And so what is this? This is happening right now. We're in the middle of it. It's a comprehensive list of recommendations for improving 311, including what additional city services need to be added to the MyLA 311 app, so how to add service level expectations, simpler ways to categorize our services, how to improve our user friendliness, etc. So I'm very glad to say that we don't just have work that we're doing as a city family, but we actually have consultant support and analysis to have a comprehensive report to improve how we deliver 311. Now, I must admit, spoiler alert, going into this conversation, these improvements, many of which are being requested, cannot even be done with the existing system, and it will require new 311 software. Fortunately, the initial funding for a MyLA 311 software replacement is in the mayor's proposed budget. So we'll see how we proceed through this budget cycle, but I'm very happy to say that the mayor's office has fully supported a replacement for MyLA 311 so that we can start to build some of the improvements that are being suggested in this report into it. The ITA will have a new 311 customer strategy and next steps by summer of 2022. 4, this is section 4 of 4, so thank you all for bearing with me. And like I said, it's a good read. There's a lot of content in there, but we put a lot of energy into all the items to come up with ways in which it will both not overly burden our department partners, but also greatly improve the way the City of Los Angeles has its online presence. And so the 4th is recommendations to ensure department coordination, because as the saying goes, it's not just about good ideas, it's about making good ideas happen. And that's really what this comes. This isn't, what they call shelfware, where you just have an idea and just put it on the shelf and we all pat each other on the back and move. We really need to implement these and really improve the experience for Angelinos when it comes to our online presence. So when it comes to protocols, we have protocols recommended in the report that ensure department compliance in the identity management items. So you have single sign-on between all the various apps the city has. We have data sharing protocols. We have a cyber watch list to ensure that our items are secure. And we have items on how to resolve cyber vulnerabilities. And in a nutshell, ITA has given authority under the LA Admin Code, section 22.268, in which ITA will instruct departments to comply with these measures. Whenever we identify non-compliance, we're going to communicate to the department, the responsible department staff. If there's further non-compliance, we'll escalate it to department management. And if it still continues to be that way, we're going to escalate it to the mayor if necessary. Of course, for us to be able to go through all these different items and keep an eye on 43 different departments, all their websites, all their project websites, etc., again, there are resource requirements that are listed in the recommendation section of the report, and it is necessary to monitor progress and assist departments with compliance. So what are the recommendations? Number 1, for Q2 of this year, ITA will be redesigning lacity.org and relaunching it as lacity.gov. Number 2, in the third quarter of this year, ITA will be developing new City of Los Angeles web policy and standards. It will be comprehensive. It's going to be covering multilingual translation. It's going to be covering style guides. It's going to be covering mobile responsiveness. It's going to cover all the items that are listed in this report and more. And it'll ensure that department websites are under the lac.gov domain and that they're secure. It'll ensure that they're mobile responsive, accessible, and have fillable online forms, no more PDFs. It'll ensure that it supports language translation. It'll ensure that it has online payment options and it has up-to-date content. The report has a great conversation regarding tools and capabilities to ensure that city websites are easy to understand, but time doesn't permit me from drilling into it in great detail at this point. Number 3, third quarter of 2022, citywide, is for council to instruct city departments, elected offices, boards, and commissions to update their websites to adhere to the new web policy, to ensure that they migrate their websites to the new lac.gov subdomain name, and to update the cyber watch list to ensure that public-facing apps, websites, and servers are being scanned weekly through vulnerability scanning. The greatest way to prevent cyber criminals from hacking our systems is to check them from vulnerabilities and to remove those vulnerabilities and solve them in a very timely manner. And that's what ITA has in place through the cyber watch list. And then a report back to ITGS with the resources needed, if any, to implement the above recommendations. Some departments are well positioned to implement these things. Some departments have already been hearing about this report and are in the process of implementing that. And some departments may need assistance to implement it. So there's kind of a different mixed bag as to how we work with departments and get all these things executed. Item number 4, Q2 of 2022, is to instruct the CAO to identify funding for fiscal year 22-23 to increase IT's capacity tools for ADA Section 508 accessibility. It includes 2 new systems analyst positions, $65,000 annually for accessibility scanning tools, and $16,000 annually for a cloud-hosted data lake platform for secure data sharing, data analytics, process automation, and machine learning, which was also included in the motion and the report. Item 5 is for ITA to complete the citywide 311 customer strategy, the review project, and a report back to council with its findings on how to improve My LA 311 and online access to city services. And item number 6 for the third quarter of this year is for us to update the security policy requiring all city departments to implement the necessary cybersecurity controls. I know I covered a lot of content. I'm up for questions. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. That was an incredibly comprehensive report, presentation, and a report as well. I want to kick it off by asking a question about the tie-in between this work, which I think is really essential, obviously. And what we've been talking about in the mayor's budget, the proposed budget for 2022-23. Can you tell us a little bit more about what pieces of this you're able to do in currently, and what might require additional funding through this budget, or if there are specific parts of the proposed budget that you would need change in order to be able to take this forward?
Certainly. So in the mayor's proposed budget, there's some good things in there. What we'll run into, though, quite honestly, is that quite a few of the items that are in here for recommendations do require additional resources above and beyond what's included in the mayor's budget. So, for example, easy to use language. We require the software for a scanning tool that scans all the different city websites and identifies the kind of the grade level. It uses a certain kind of methodology to say, well, what level of education do you have to understand this website? That would be the primary tool for us to do that. Without funding for that tool, we wouldn't be able to do that. In addition, there are certain aspects of this quarterly web audit where we would need staffing, which we don't currently have today and is not included in the mayor's proposed budget, to be able to sit down and go through expanded Section 508 compliance scanning, as well as the language tool item I mentioned. Without additional funding, we do some limited ADA Section 508 scanning. We do it for departmental websites. We don't do it for project-based websites. And it's limited to Section 508 accessibility, which is important, but it doesn't have some of the items included in the report. So it's a lengthy answer, but I think the short answer is we do require, even above and beyond the mayor's proposed budget, we do require additional resources and items as mentioned in this report. And the main reason being is that this motion came after our budget packages were to be submitted, and it's kind of a more recent conversation versus when we were able to submit our budgets from before.
Great. Thank you for that perspective. Okay, well, that's useful to know. And then I had a question about, in terms of impacting day-to-day operations. You talked about changing business cards and kind of the process of making that change. Is there expected to be a pause or any kind of breaks in service that you might expect from this migration process?
No, a break in service, absolutely not. So we're expecting, we'll think about at a high level what gets impacted. The idea of an lacity.org then becoming an lacity.gov and people being moved over should have no impact when it comes to that. The idea that departments who maybe go from let's say an LA City Sanitation to a sanitation.lacity.gov, same thing. Because if you go to the old address, you'll end up with the new address and there should be no issues associated with it. Really more than anything is where we're going to work with departments to identify hard coding. So if you have a website that has a hard link to lacitysan.com or something like that, those will be the areas that they need to make the improvement. It won't happen immediately. It's going to happen over time because we can keep the redirect for some time. So departments should have ample time to ensure that there's no break in service associated with many of these improvements. So we don't expect any of those, but we do expect with time that the city will then shift over to things instead of tedross.lacity.org, it'll become tedross@lacity.gov. But once again, giving transition timeframes for the old to still be accessible for the new. But eventually, at some point, the old will get shut down. But people have had more than enough time to be able to kind of make the adjustment and make the change.
Got it. Councilmember Blumenfield, did you have any questions?
Sure. And sort of building on what your question about the priorities and the budget, because I'm on the budget committee and we're taking up the CAO memos tomorrow. And I guess some of these are in the mayor's proposed budget, but some of them are not. So I want to get a sense from you, how you rank them among your priority lists for 22-23, because we may not be able to get to everything on the list. But I'm always a booster of ITA and getting our, back of the house in order, and I'm always going to advocate for our technological upgrades, because I think we do more with less and all the rest. So help me understand the priorities.
Absolutely. And I couldn't be any more grateful to Madam Chair and the council member for all the advocacy you've done, because I know you grasp the importance of technology. For the vast majority of Angelenos, they actually engage their government in a digital way. And so having good digital services makes all the difference to them. So, to clarify, the ITA requested 43 essential positions in the budget. The mayor's proposed budget includes 8. None of those 8 positions includes the resources that are mentioned in this report. So none of those 8 include the 2 systems analyst positions that are required to perform this work. And none of the funding includes the additional scanning, the additional software, as well as the data lake software that's required in it. So, we don't have that item there in the priority. So to sit and take maybe an examination of where our priorities are, the ITA made its first priority around additional staffing. We have key items. These items can be added to it, as well as, maybe key funding associated. So it's a bit of a lengthy story because the ITA has a TV station, a data network, communications electricians, et cetera. But this additional item that came up since we submitted our budget, I believe is a very high priority for the city. And we would love to advocate for this priority in addition to what was done through the budget process.
Okay. And then also, just a separate issue on the 508 stuff. I'm not sure how we're going to be able to get all the documents to meet this 508 requirement. I know we should, but just as an example, my staff ran the Adobe Acrobat's accessibility check just on the PDF for the agenda for this meeting, and there were 17 failures. It identifies 4 failures in the PDF of your report to download items from CMS. This isn't to point the finger at anybody. This is how complicated this is that I don't think there's a document out there right now that we're putting out as a city that's going to pass the 508 requirements.
Right. And so 508 is really important to us. And 508 is an item that we have a series of websites that we've been, for the last several years, improving our 508 compliance across them. And I think that reinforces one of the key reasons why we need two systems analysts. We have tools in which we can engage departments and say, here's information regarding your website. So it's kind of like a mirror. Here's all our problems, right? And for some departments, they're good at solving those problems. And for some departments, they say, where do I start to solve those problems? And the 2 systems analysts that are included in the report as a recommendation will be there to assist departments with both understanding where their issues are and helping advise on how to help solve them. So I think that's an important part. Sometimes at the City of LA, we get money and we do important efforts to expose the issues. What this report includes is the solutions to the problems, because we know that there are ways to sit down and make changes to the PDFs to be able to help resolve exactly what you're describing by people smarter than me, like Jason Joseph and his team.
Okay. All right. Well, that's it, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you for that. And, I hope that we can see a few more of the positions that will make this possible, find their way into the budget as we move forward through it. I think what we've outlined here is really so essential for LA. And, for me, it's like, how does LA continue to be a 21st century city? This is a plan to get us there. I don't think we're quite there yet. And, I think unless we give ITA the tools and personnel and dollars to be able to do this, I think we won't get there. So I'm happy to move this forward at this time. I'm going to recommend the following. From the report, I'm going to say, I want to recommend that we approve recommendations 1, 2, 5, and 6. I want to amend recommendation 3 to the following: instruct city departments, boards, and commissions, and request elected offices to take actions identified in recommendation number 3. And I want to amend recommendation number 4 to say, instruct the CAO to identify funding sources to be considered by the City Council as part of the fiscal year 22-23 budget development process or in the first quarter status report to increase ITA's capacity and capabilities as listed in this report's recommendation. Does that work?
For me.
Okay, great. So Mr. Espinoza, can you please call the roll on this?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Councilmember Rahman,
Yes.
Councilmember Blumenfield.
Aye.
And Councilmember Price is absent. That's 2 ayes, and this is approved as amended.
Okay, great. And thank you, Ted, and all of ITA staff who helped work on this. And thank you also to Councilmember Buscaino's staff for being here to cheer this on and in kind of thinking about moving forward on this issue, which I think is so important. Okay, let's move on to item 2. This is a joint report from the Civil and Human Rights and Equity Department, from ITA, and from LAPD on, sadly, a very timely issue. And Mr. Espinoza, do you want to read this item into the record? Oh, no, we already, did we? No, we need to read it into the record, right? Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this item is a joint report from the Civil, Human Rights and Equity Department, the Information Technology Agency, and the Los Angeles Police Department, and it's relative to improving access for hate reporting through technological solutions and streamlining hate reporting data captured by 311 and streamlining data from various sources to improve analysis. And this item was also also referred to the Immigrant Affairs, Civil Rights, and Equity Committee.
Well, and this is one of those items where I wish that we didn't have to be doing this work. It's, you know, I think, but it's a very, it's a tough time. We've seen a huge rise in hate crimes against the AAPI community. I just saw a report a couple of days ago that saw an incredibly alarming jump in the number of anti-Semitic incidents in overall in the country. And so this is, you know, I think this is sadly a timely report. But I do want to thank Jumana and Chief Chow and our ITA partners for putting their heads together on thinking through one important aspect of this, which is how we as a city receive this information and how we as a city collaborate on it. Because without the data that we can get through the various ways in which people can report these terrible incidents, without collaboration, we will not be able to respond to these issues with the focus and the resources that they need. So with that, I want to turn it over to Jumana Silian Saba, Chief Chow, Mariam Abbasi, and Eduardo Magos, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that last name, for your feedback and updates on this.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Councilmember Bloomingfield. Great to be with you all this afternoon. Although I wish it was on a different topic, as you had mentioned, Madam Chair. So in preparation for this report, we formed an internal working group. The working group includes colleagues from ITA, LAPD, who are also present here with me this afternoon. We've also reached out and consulted with academic experts from UCLA and RAND to better inform our report and recommendations. So in reviewing the current hate reporting system for the city of LA, we were able to identify progress as well as gaps as it relates to expanding access for reporting in ways in which the city can leverage existing technology tools to aggregate hate reporting data. Currently, hate reports, crime and incidents are reported primarily through LAPD. While LAPD keeps track of both hate crimes as well as hate incidents, we know that there are data gaps when compared with reporting data published by community-based organizations such as ADL and Stop AAPI Hate. So in an effort to expand reporting access and provide reporting avenues beyond law enforcement, the city expanded reporting of hate through our 311 system in May of 2021 with the launch of the LA for All campaign. However, the 311 reporting is available on a limited basis. There are only 5 reporting fields that 311 operators are currently capturing, and this makes it difficult to aggregate the data and align it with data from LAPD as well as 211 LA, which also takes reporting through the LA County LA versus Hate program. So our department, in consultation with LAPD, worked with ITA to expand these reporting fields from the 5 that are currently in use to 50 fields to mirror the LAPD as well as the 211 reporting fields. These fields are currently being set up via an intra-web form in the city's ServiceNow system. Only designated city administrators, 311 designated supervisory staff, and CHRED designated staff on a read-only basis can access the information. I'm really happy to report that the intra-web form reporting platform is completed, and we are now in the beta testing phase ahead of rollout. We do anticipate the full rollout to take place at the end of the month, and this is really much thanks to our ITA colleagues. Implementing the rollout of the intra-web form will also allow the data from the LAPD system to be aggregated in SNOW along with data from 311. And hopefully down the line, we could also include additional data such as data that is being reported by 211. So by aggregating the data, a unified reporting dashboard can then be generated to better inform city leadership of hate reporting data in near real-time capability. It is important to recognize that while we are able to leverage immediate short-term enhancements, investments in capacity building and ongoing 311 staff development is required to ensure sustainability of reporting via 311. The trauma and psychological effects of hate, as well as risks for violence, requires ongoing trauma-informed and capacity building training for 311 staff in order to continue to improve the city's overall response to hate. I'm happy to report that we were able to leverage some in-kind support to provide an initial training workshop to 311 staff, which will include a trauma-informed response component. But as you very well know, one training session will not be nearly enough. Investments are also needed for expansion of reporting mechanisms and further coordination for data aggregation to include partnerships with academic institutions. These investments should also include better understanding of the efficacy and feasibility of a mobile app, as well as investing and supporting in community-based organizations. And if I could particularly highlight the 211 LA, a nonprofit organization that is currently providing case management and access to wraparound services through a network of community-based organizations. And these are much needed services for victims of hate and those who are experiencing hate in our city. So at a time when our city is continuing to see some of the highest hate numbers, as you've indicated, Madam Chair, it is imperative that we continue to leverage all tools available to mitigate the impact of hate. So I'm really grateful to the efforts of our colleagues at ITA, Ed Magos, Hugh Lee, Donna Archia, as well as Deputy Chief Chow, Captain Vargas and his team, and Detective Martinez for their contributions and for their ongoing commitment to ensuring that we continue to improve not only access to reporting, but also to improve our overall response and prevention efforts as a city. Finally, I would like to thank you, Councilmember Rahman, in this committee for taking a fresh approach to addressing hate in our city. And unless any of our partners have anything that they would like to add, we're happy to answer any questions that you have for us.
Deputy Chief Chow or others, did you, from ITA, did you want to share anything else? And actually, I wanted to mention for the benefit of anyone listening and everyone else on this call, the initial conversations around this actually came out of a meeting with Deputy Chief Chow, and he'd already been in touch with the Civil and Human Rights Department on this issue. So thank you for your leadership on this and for paying attention to this important data.
Thank you, Councilmember, and Councilmember Blumenfield, thank you. Just very quickly, I don't want to rehash everything that Jomana went over, but you know, from our perspective, and I have our hate crime coordinator, Orlando Martinez, also on. You know, if you look at our hate crime statistics and our hate crime incidents, it's very, very underreported. And there's really primarily two reasons for that, I believe. One is there are a lot of people out there that don't know what a hate crime or what a hate incident is. Number two, they don't know how to report it. Or number three is they don't want to report it because they don't want to go to law enforcement. And so we recognize that. And that's why I think this solution is, or the recommendations are a way that we can actually build out people's options to report hate crimes and hate incidents and aggregate the data and really get a better picture as to what is going on in the city that will allow the city and the police department to do more outreach into the community, to train officers and things like that. So I believe that we are moving in the right direction. There's still a lot of underreporting going on, even if you add the numbers up from 311, 211, and LAPD, it's still very, very small. But the easier we can make it for our community members to report, I think a better picture is what we're going to see.
Great. Thank you. And ITA, did you have anything to add?
Good afternoon, Mariam Abbasi, Information Technology Agency. We would like to thank the leadership from the committee, also our partner departments, CHRED and LAPD. Very happy to be part of this initiative and helping increase the reporting access points for the public, and if they're not if giving them the option of going 311 and 311 call center to get their information in, and be happy to refer them to get services through either 211 LA or through LAPD. So very happy to be partners. We're happy to answer questions.
Great, thank you. Jumana, I know you're an expert on this issue, and I've called you for advice on this more than once. I want to ask you a little bit about how this data can be used, especially if it's improved. A lot of what this system is designed to do is to help us better respond. So that's post facto. Are there ways in which collecting this data can help us actually reduce the number of incidents, as in addition to responding more quickly, in a more tailored way when they do occur?
Yes, thank you for this question. Right now, when we look at hate crimes data, generally we are looking at reports that's really giving us more of a historic look at trends. Largely, these reports are looking at data from, a previous year. It is helpful to know that because it is giving us a historical perspective, but we need data that can give us a real-time picture of where we are right now. Because as we tailor our response, not only in terms of our law enforcement response, but largely how we as a city design policy, how we as a city design initiatives and programs that are aimed at prevention and intervention, having the ability to look at data that is reflective of real-time data gives us the ability to make more informed decisions. Particularly in this, in this arena, I find that working with academic partners and research institutions is really helpful because that's what they do best. And sometimes looking at some of the reports from academia and some of our academics, again, we can understand trends, but we need something that we could look at right now and not something that we could look back on a year ago and how we should have responded, but rather how do we need to respond right now and moving into the future.
Right. That's really helpful. Okay, fantastic. I'm looking forward to doing this work and actually implementing it. Councilmember Blumenfield, did you have any additional questions?
No questions. I mean, I'm looking forward to this as well. It's so important. I mean, sunshine is a great disinfectant. Getting more information, making it easier for people to report this will help us deal with the problem that is unfortunately a growing one. So thank you for bringing it up.
Thank you, and thank you for your partnership, and thank you to all of you for coming to the committee today. I'm going to recommend that we adopt the report's recommendations at this time. Mr. Espinoza, could you please call the roll on this item?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Councilmember Rahman?
Yes.
Councilmember Blumenfield?
Blumenfield, aye.
Councilmember Price is absent, so that's 2 ayes, and this item is approved.
Thank you so much, and thank you to Deputy Chief Chow, to Jumana, to Mariam, and all those at ITA who helped work on this. We appreciate you. Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Espinoza, anything else on the desk today?
No, the desk is clear.
Okay, great. Thank you. This meeting is adjourned. Have a great afternoon.